in for another look into the political landscape, the cultural landscape of our great nation. And we'll just kind of hit the ground running here today. On Monday of this week, Barack Obama made a speech where he officially announced his re-election bid for 2012. That in and of itself is not particularly newsworthy. I think we all understood that he would run. I don't think that anybody seriously thought we'd get a Lyndon Johnson moment where he would say that he would not accept the nomination. That was never going to happen. So Obama's hat is officially in the ring, although it had unofficially been there for a long time. But why I bring that up is because it brings to mind some things I've been hearing from people over the last year, experts and pundits, and even just regular people I talk to, regarding the 2012 campaign. A lot of people I've talked to, a lot of people that have been on the other side of the aisle, have espoused a point of what they consider to be conventional wisdom, that 2012 is Obama's campaign to win. And they have a mentality that, you know, the Republicans just have to come up with this perfect candidate and this perfect situation to beat Obama, because Obama is virtually unbeatable. That unless things just completely go pear-shaped, Obama wins in 2012, and it's almost not even a contest. And as I look at that wisdom and I look at it and think, well, is that just partisan rhetoric, or is there some actual logic behind that mentality? I think the people who say that Obama's election in 2012 was a shoo, and I think they're very misguided. Now, don't get me wrong. I understand that in most presidential elections, the incumbent, or elections of any kind for that matter, the incumbent does have a significant advantage coming in. You know, the incumbent is always a known quantity. The incumbent has already been there, has that familiarity. So, you know, you do have to go out there normally and beat the incumbent. The incumbent doesn't necessarily have to beat you. And I think that's where a lot of this mentality is coming in, that, well, it's Obama's election to lose. There was an old wrestler named Ric Flair who always used to say, to be the man, you got to beat the man. And so in politics, that has a tendency to be true, that the incumbent does have an advantage, and the incumbent does not have to necessarily go out there and win the election. He just has to go out there and not lose it. Even down south, there was always an old phrase that the incumbent always wins unless he's caught in bed with a dead girl or a live boy. So that has always been a staple of American politics. But in this situation, in 2012, in this political environment, I don't think that applies as much. I think we're looking at a very different election. I don't think that Barack Obama is going to have the amount of advantage that an incumbent normally would. Why is that? Why do I think that 2012 is so different than what we've seen in the past? I think a lot of it has to go back to the 2008 campaign and how Barack Obama and his handlers positioned him, and the type of candidate he was supposed to be, the type of president he was supposed to be. The campaign was so unique on so many levels, and really raised the bar of expectation for Obama and his presidency so high that, frankly, I don't think any president of whatever party could have attained it. So they almost painted themselves into a corner by creating this perfect rock star candidate, this leader of the future, this next great American leader, that when he falls short of it, how does he win re-election? I'm not sure how he does. They really painted themselves into a corner in 2008. And as a result, I think they're going to have a very difficult time selling the same guy in 2012. Now, what do I mean by that? What do I mean by painting themselves into a corner? What was it about that 2008 campaign that was so different that it's going to hurt him in 2012? Well, let's look at how Barack Obama got elected in 2008. Barack Obama got elected in a large turnout election. Barack Obama got elected by generating large turnout, large support from three particular groups: the African American community, the youth, and the suburban voters. Well, let's look at each of those three categories and see how they look right now as compared to 2008. First of all, the African American, the urban vote, Barack Obama got a tremendous amount of support from them, won it going away percentage-wise, which the Democrat generally does in that group of people, but he also got a huge amount of turnout from them, which really maximized their effect. And I would say that that particular group, I don't see much in the way of change there for 2012, so I would go ahead and grant that group to Obama. He's going to win the African-American vote. He's going to get a lot of turnout from it. There's no real change from 2008, so he gets that one. But the youth vote, is that going to be the same? Well, generally speaking, the Democratic candidate does win the higher percentage of the youth vote. Maybe that's due to the lack of life experience that younger people have, or the lack of familiarity with the real world. But in any case, the youth vote always does, percentage-wise, go with the Democrat. But there's a big issue there. I don't think that Barack Obama is going to have an easy time getting the huge amount of turnout from the youth that he had in 2008. If you recall my presentation on what's wrong with the youth of America, we talked a little bit about how Barack Obama not only won the high percentage of the youth vote, but that he also got them to turn out. He also became that rock star candidate. He became the candidate of their generation. He became the voice that they were supposed to have in Washington. He was going to be the guy that was going to completely change the game, completely change Washington, completely change the politics that they hated. Has he done that? No, he really hasn't. If you look at this, it's difficult to do, but if you look at this from the perspective of the youth voters that voted for him the last time, the people that are so screwed up in their view of the world, they looked at Barack Obama as being the guy who was going to give them everything. He really hasn't done that. He hasn't ended the wars that he said he was going to end. He hasn't given them all the things he said he was going to give them. He has not completely transformed politics. It is still business as usual. He did get health care in, which is something that outside the youth of America so many people hate. So he really was not as transformative and as much of the next great leader as they thought he would be. To the youth of America, as weird as this is going to sound for those of you who are conservative, and as weird as it is for me to say it, to the youth of America, he has not been liberal enough. I mean, don't get me wrong, Barack Obama's a left-wing ideologue. He's a dangerous nut. But there's people on the left, particularly in the youth, that are even more to the left. They're even more crazy. And they think this guy has, I don't want to say betrayed him, but he's not given them what he thought he was going to give them. He has not delivered the way they thought he would. So does that mean that the youth of America is going to switch and go to the Republican side? No, of course not. They're not going to do that. But I don't think they're going to have the enthusiasm. I don't think that they're going to have the bit of cultural duty that they thought they had in 2008 to vote for Barack Obama. I think a lot of them are going to be apathetic. I think they're going to throw up their hands in the process. They're going to tune out. And I don't think they're going to come in the droves that they did in 2008. That's a problem for Barack Obama. He wins the percentage of the youth vote, but I don't think he's going to get that turnout which he needs. And then you go to the suburbanites. A lot of those people were just so fed up with the situation that America was in and were essentially throwing up their hands that they basically said, we'll vote for anybody who appears to be different. And there was the element of the historical type of campaign, the first black president. And, the fact that we could really make history. And you had that feel-good moment in there. And the fact that there was a bit of a cultural and a national temper tantrum at the Bush years. All of that worked together to get those suburbanites to vote for Barack Obama. But I don't think he can pull it off again. First of all, the whole historic election, the whole first black president thing, you can only play that card once. It was played in 2008. You're not going to get people to vote for a re-election simply on that basis. Plus, the whole temper tantrum factor, the negative enthusiasm that we'll talk about here in a little bit, that doesn't work in Obama's favor either. These suburbanites are still kind of pissed off, but now they're pissed off at Obama. They don't see that he was the answer he said he was going to be. They don't see that he was going to move us past the racial strife in our country the way that he was supposed to, or that he claimed he would. He's done anything but. He's exacerbated it. He was supposed to unify this country, and instead he's further divided it. So the suburbanites, they're not going to vote in the, they're not going to give him the large backlog of support that he got. I don't even think he's going to win the percentage of them either. I think he's lost this group of people. So where Barack Obama had three groups of people that he got a big percentage of support and a large turnout from, he only gets one of those three groups, the African Americans. I don't think the youth will turn out. I think the suburbanites are going to turn on him. So that's a major issue for Barack Obama. You know, a large portion of the American people that swept Obama into office did so because they were so fed up with everything in the country and the economy and everything else that they felt like they should just take a gamble. You know, here was a presidential candidate who had really no track record, really had never run anything, and we on the right pointed that out, but in 2008 people didn't really care about it too much. They were just ready to throw up their hands and spin the wheel, or roll the dice, or pull the slot machine handle. That's what Barack Obama was. Barack Obama was the gamble. Barack Obama was the personification of, we're so desperate and we're so fed up that we'll take the gamble. We'll see if we can hit the jackpot. There is no substance to him. He was just the wheel, the dice, the cards, the slot machine. But what happened? America spun that wheel, they threw those dice, they pulled that slot machine handle. But when you look at the last 2 years of the Obama presidency, the wheel landed on 00, the dice came up 7, the slot machine was empty. They have now seen, now that he's been in office and he has somewhat of a track record, they've seen that Obama has an inability to make decisions, an inability to be decisive. He's indecisive on almost every issue. The one issue he was decisive on was health care, which a majority of the American people are against. So he does not have, he has a track record now, but it's not a track record he can run off of with any sort of positivity. Effectively, he is what he said he was going to be, a left-wing ideologue. I think a lot of people that voted for him didn't think he would go as far as he went. But now he has, and now they're rethinking it. So that leads to a very unique challenge for Barack Obama. If you are a political strategist, you're looking at the re-election campaign of Barack Obama, what do? You're confronted with a very unique problem that not too many presidential incumbents have. The problem they have is that he needs to win, he needs to have a large turnout in an election in order to win. But now he's going to have to get that turnout with a completely different sales pitch than he had in 2008. Remember, in 2008, he was the rock star. He was the unknown quantity. He was the guy who was outside the Beltway. He was the opposite of everything we supposedly hated about politics. But now, he's seen as just another politician. He's just another one of them. He's not as unique and transformative as he said he was. Now, of course, the right said all along that he wasn't. Nobody believed us then. They're starting to believe us now. But he's going to have to sell himself all over again. The rock star thing, the historic card, the first black president card, the feel-good momentum, it's not going to work again. Now, don't get me wrong. Obama looks good in a suit. He can give a rip-roaring speech. And in 2008, that was pretty much enough. That's all you had to do in that campaign. Also helped that he had an opponent in John McCain who was barely running. But Obama does not have those advantages this time through.